Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillah. This is now episode 89 of the podcast, The Forward, with myself, Brother Mahdi Locke. And Alhamdulillah, today I'm joined by Al-Hajj Abu Ja'far al-Hanbali. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And today we are going to talk about the life of Imam Muhammad Mutawalli ash-Shaʿrāwī, rahimahullah, and his tafsir. Now, why we're talking about this is because the translation of his tafsir, known as al-Khawatir, was made available about 18 months ago online, and it's a project that I was a part of. And there was not a lot of fanfare about it. There was a YouTube video was put out. It only has about 68 views to this date. Um, Most of them are, I think a lot of them are mine, if not most of them. And there is a website now. You can access the entire thing in PDF format. You can download it. It's all there. It was a team of translators, but not a lot of people are talking about it. So this is part of why we are bringing this up. Is anything you want to add at this point?
I wanted to actually know, out of all the different tafsirs that you could have considered working with to translate, there's discussion around working with Ibn Kathir, there's discussion around Ruh al-Ma'ani, there's discussion around all these others. What was the deciding factor of working with this one?
Okay. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, I did not choose it. Let's put it that way. I did not choose the tafsir. This was a foundation in Egypt. It was a project that was set up in Egypt uh, under the auspices of, I think it was Sheikh Ali Jumu'ah,
Okay.
he was the supervisor.
English Mufti.
Yeah, he was the mushrif over it. And then the funding for the project was coming from Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
And I think someone set it up. I think it was set up as a sadaqah jariyah. It was set up as a sadaqah jariyah by one of the emirs over there. And there's more details about this on the website. You can read about this on the website, which I will share. I'll put the link below. I believe this tafsir was chosen because of its relevance to the modern age. The fact that Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, because there's another thing to bear in mind here, is it is a transcription of the classes he taught. So his tafsir is widely popular. It still comes on TV in the Arab world. You can find clips of it all over YouTube. You can find large chunks of it all over YouTube.
So it's available in both visual and audio format.
Yeah, visual audio format. Yeah, so you can go on YouTube and also on Arab TV channels that come on late at night or different parts of the
So
day.
there's reruns of it.
Yeah, reruns. Yeah, even though he passed away 25 years ago, and so there's that broad appeal, and the fact I think part of the fact that because he was speaking, I think these were oral lessons, and then it was transcribed afterwards. There's more of a
Feels more personable.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
More like a more intimate setting.
Yes, that's how it feels when he's talking to you and he's talking about these issues, and he's always relating it to modern things. So that's what where he had he had that appeal, he had that mass appeal. I think we were discussing this yesterday, like Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, like his popularity within Egypt at least was like that of any.
He had a huge footprint. He was like a fatherly figure.
Yeah, and his popularity equally matched like any sort of like any celebrities say.
Yeah, famous celebrities, singers. He was just as popular as them, like Kulthum, these type of people, Fadil Atrash and Esmahan, like those type of people from that generation. Shaʿrāwī, if he didn't overshadow them, he was as popular as them.
And I think this popularity extended throughout the rest of the Arab world. A lot of people looked up to him. A lot of people admired his tafsir. I got involved. I think someone recommended me. Someone who already worked on the project recommended to me. So they approached me. One of the brothers running that project approached me and said, "Would you like to be a part of this?" And I wasn't sure at first. I don't know if I was too keen at first. But this was like 2008, the Gregorian calendar, and I accepted the project. They gave me a test to do. Like they wanted to see what my translation was like because the way they had it, there were multiple translators. for
Okay,
multiple translators.
so did they have like sort of a team, and they assigned each section within that team like a few volumes? You're in charge of
Yeah,
volumes one through
or
five.
surahs,
Okay, so
or
okay, you're in
surahs.
charge of from Baqarah to A'raf. You're in charge of Al
Hmm.
Imran.
Yeah. So the way it started off, once I got accepted and they liked my translation, um, they gave me because they basically what they did is they photocopied the entire tafsir, the Arabic tafsir. They photocopied it and then they uploaded it to like I think it was a goab.com website
Uh,
email account.
hmm,
I don't know if people remember that Egyptian email service, goab.com.
hmm.
So you would just log into that email account and download your portion. So I was given Fatir, so Fatir first, and then Yasin, and then I was given an An'am, so also an An'am, and then I was given Ahqaf, and then Muhammad, so Muhammad.
Did they give directives for how they wanted the translation layout to be? Like, what spelling did they want? Like
Yeah,
universal UK spelling or the American
I think
spelling?
it was I think it was American spelling. I
Uh,
think it was American spelling. Um, because the other source, just to mention the other source, I did Jumu'ah and I did some Taghabun. So like all in all, it came to like just under 2,000 pages. And I did that over about a 5-year period. So yeah, they gave a list of how they wanted particular words translated
hmm.
that everyone had to adhere to. So like certain Arabic terms had to be translating this English term. There was one when it came to translating the ayat. Um, we were told to use Muhammad Asad's translation.
Is there a reason for that? Why would they choose Muhammad Asad?
I have no idea. That's mystery of mysteries.
Yeah, because he wasn't a mufassir. He wasn't a
Yeah,
like he has like no formal footprint in the religion of Islam in terms of like rank. So why would they choose his translation?
I don't know. I don't know why they chose that translation. What they did tell us though is they said if you notice that the translation does not match what Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī is saying, change it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Change it and let us know.
That's good. That's
Right. So we
encouraging.
weren't like bound to it. So the way we had to do it is so for example, what I remember is you would submit 10 pages at a time. So you would submit 10 Arabic pages at a time. And you would try to make the Arabic to show that your English was corresponding to the Arabic. What you would do is you take the Arabic page. So the Arabic page number might be, page 17,486.
Huh.
You take that page number, you put it in a red box with a black outline, and then from there you translate that page. You can that's like 17,000 or whatever it is, and you keep moving down. So you want to show that you are matching up with the Arabic. And so it's like actually side by side. And so
And people, I imagine the way you're doing it, others can look at it real time as well. So
yeah.
they're actually watching it real time. They can see the editing happening.
Oh yeah, yeah. So what would happen is I would they would want us to do is to make 10-page submissions, and then they would want us to do 100 pages a month. Like that was like maximum capacity certain times, like 100 pages a month. Sometimes there were breaks here and there, but they're like if you can do 100 pages a month, so that means like
Because
20.
they've obviously set targets
Mm,
that they have to hit
yeah,
in order to reach like whatever the end goal was for the publishing date and everything else.
yeah. So we're looking at like 25 pages a week. So what would happen is I would submit like every time I did 10 pages, just submit, um, and then there'd be some editor. Usually, I had a lot of sisters doing that. I remember there's a sister called Rada, and she would like read it over and then send it back to me with comments. Like, why did you say this? Why did you say that? What do you think about this? And we would go back and forth.
Oh, that's good.
And
That's sub editors.
yeah, yeah. So there's editors, people saying, okay, just again, they're trying to make sure everything's uniform, everything's correct. And sometimes we get into like slight have some arguments sometimes. I mean, for example, I remember there was one time where Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī talked about this principle of التعاصف في استعمال الحق, like abuse of right, using abuse of right, and no wait, that was not no, wait, that was not a dispute we had because they had a nice fatwa from they had a footnote from Imam Muhammad Zuhayli's book.
Okay, that's good. So then you also had like little footnotes that also help flesh
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
Yeah. And I added those. No, but I remember the dispute I had. The dispute I had was where there was like there's actually a Wikipedia note In the Arabic?
Put that in.
No, no. But there was an Arabic there was an English there was an Arabic Wikipedia note
Right.
in the Arabic text,
Okay.
right? Someone put it in the Arabic feed. So what I did is instead of translating the Arabic Wikipedia note, is I just went to the English Wikipedia and just copied and pasted.
So you overlaid it.
Yes, or because I thought, well, this is an English reader. English reader's going to go to the English Wikipedia page and just go there. So they're like, your translation doesn't match. I'm like, let me explain. You didn't translate the actor. It's like, no, I didn't mean to, because if you're an English reader, you're going to go to the English Wikipedia page. And so things like this had to be overcome, argue back and forth. But
With Sha'rāwī, because he was Shafi'i, and this is relevant because when you start talking about things like quru, things like that,
yeah,
how did you deal with, like, what was your framework or your skeleton for translating, like, Surah Al-Ma'idah, 5th Surah, Ayah 3, how that's translated will obviously lean on a
mm,
madhab specific understanding
mm,
with respect to like limps and things like this.
mm.
So did they give you a framework or a skeleton how it was to be translated, or did they instruct you try to use a more neutral translation style? However you do that, however you make it neutral, like how would you make qar neutral? Unless you had a note that said this could be tuhur, or hey, this could be the cycle or the purity.
I would have to go back and see the instructions they gave me, because I didn't have to do those surahs.
Okay.
I wasn't doing Ma'idah or Baqarah. I was doing it
Because
like that.
the ahkam, I can imagine the ahkam, the ayat of ahkam would present these ambiguities, because this you can't read them without having a particular proclivity.
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, so that's why I asked that question, because you have a particular proclivity, or even like maybe a theological proclivity, because we know that his position on the lineage of the prophets, that all their ancestors were
Yeah, I remember translating that. Yeah.
yeah. So did they instruct you? Listen, make sure that it leans in this direction or whatever.
Well, I didn't have to make it lean. It was already there.
Okay, it was
He
already
already had that position,
right.
so I just translated as it was.
Okay.
So yeah, um, yeah. So that project. So I think even the Arabic itself, I think it ends somewhere in Juz 28 or 29.
Okay.
I don't think it's all complete. I I was living in Morocco at the time, and everyone in Morocco knew who he was. So anytime I had difficulty, like my teacher, like Ustad Adi Filali, he would help me. Sometimes I would get other colleagues where I was teaching, because they're also Arabic teachers. They would help me out with stuff.
Did you see, or have you seen that there's more than one recension of his transcribed tafsir?
No, I've only seen one.
There's only one.
It's that blue and yellow volume.
Okay.
I haven't seen any other editions, because they're very particular about that. I mean, because again, the permission to translate this here was taken from his estate, like from his waratha. Like they spoke to him, they spoke to the waratha. They gave permission, and they're very particular about that. That's why, for example, um, people notice, like on my channel, if I anytime I put up a video by Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, if I translate something to put it up, it's immediately copyrighted.
Hmm.
They don't take it down,
Yeah.
but they say that it belongs. I think it's called Sono Cairo,
Hmm.
which is like the area of Sultan Qahira. Like they own the rights to like all of his audiovisual material.
So that way people understand that this is not just, it's not public access view.
Yeah,
This does belong to some.
yeah. So they don't take it down, but what they say is if your video is monetized, they will take some of it.
Okay.
They will take some of it, because they own the rights to it. Whereas I've never had that issue with anyone else I've translated. I don't have that with Imam Bolti's videos. I don't have the issue with, say, Fatah Hijazi or anyone. No, it's just
Put it up and that's the end of it.
yeah. So with Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, like one video I did by Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, um, it was a video, but what was it? There's one video I did of his on why do we eat so much food in Ramadan. That got blocked in certain countries. It got blocked. Yeah, it just got blocked. I think it's been unblocked now, but for like a few years, it was just blocked.
Was there any
Because again, they said
reasoning
it was a
given?
copyright issue.
Oh, the copyright. Okay, I was thinking it's a content issue where was there like a sort of body positivity movement that like blocked it and said we don't want, this is disgusting, don't put this up. Who are you to decide what we eat or something?
Yeah, no, it was just a copyright issue, because I think that particular video or for that particular book, it belonged to someone else as opposed to Soto Kahira. I think it belonged to someone else. And they blocked. They said this video's been blocked in certain countries. And as what I could tell, was blocked in every single country I can think of, just blocked. Then it became unblocked. Then there was another one I did, and this was when I published when I published The Opening of the Hearts, and I put this video up when Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī was talking about, can the deceased hear us in our graves, and he's just explaining that, obviously if we're going to the graveyard, we're going to say Assalamu alaikum. Allah's not going to tell us that just for no reason. That's not abeth. Allah is telling us or that's Allah is commanding us to say salam because they can hear us. So that when I put that video on YouTube, they took the sound off.
Okay, so they removed the audio but left the visual.
Yeah, very, very weird. And then so what I did is I left it there.
And that was Sono that was pushing that did that?
I think so, yeah.
Not YouTube.
Yeah. So Sono, I think so. But then what I did at the same is I took the same video with my translation over and I uploaded on my blog, and there was no issue there. Both owned by Google, but
yeah, that's very strange.
So what I did is I put the video on YouTube, and then I just listen. If you actually want to, because you can watch the video and you can read the subtitles, but if you want to hear the Imam speak Arabic, then you have to go to my blog.
Okay.
So I put the link to my blog. I said, listen, one thing here. I still get the occasional comment, there's no sound. I've explained.
We're aware of this.
I've explained there was no sound. Just go to my blog. You can watch the video on my blog. It's there.
Before you took up the project for the tafsir, you'd been putting up little snippets of Imam Ash-Shaʿrāwī.
No, I started much later.
Okay, you started much later. In putting them up, because he had a huge following when he was alive in the generation that he belonged to and those that were listening at the time. What has been the response of this generation's group of Muslims that are now in the cyberspace that are listening? Like, what's their response been in general? If there's been like an overwhelming response to his videos, has there been pushback or anything?
No, it's been widely accepted. I would say, like, his videos on my channel are like proof of the Pareto principle. Like, you put out a whole bunch, like the 80-20 rule. You put a whole bunch of videos, and there'll be like 4 or 5 that get the most views. Like almost, that's how it is. I think I was showing these yesterday. So if you take like 3 or 4 of his videos, they're the most, apart from the podcast who are the Arabs, those 3 or 4 videos by Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, they're getting like 50K views, 30K views.
What are the comments like? Like, what's the general mood?
All just positive. Just say, like, please do more. We love the Sheikh. Love the way he sounds. We love his energy. We love the things he says. We love these reminders. Please do more. I love to do more, but it is time consuming.
Yes.
Taking a video and translating it.
Yes.
It can take like an hour just to produce like a minute of content.
And what are you using the closed captions, or are you actually creating text boxes and
I'm creating text boxes.
Right, so that's even more time consuming.
Yeah, I create text boxes.
And this is an area I think a lot of people may not know about. When you translate, whether it's videos or things like that, you have to make a choice of whether to do closed captioning or those text boxes, and it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
It may look really easy. You have a 9-minute or 5-minute snippet, but stopping and starting, trying to sync the translation as well with what the individual is saying, so that way it's flashing on the screen at the point that he's saying it. It can be very time consuming.
Yeah, I haven't had a good experience with closed caption, because I always feel like when I had my own translations, they sort of stay there. So you can't change them regardless. Where the closed caption, you can turn it off, turn it on on YouTube. My friend Hasman and I, we did that with one video by Imam Bulti. It was something about it was part 1 of his series on depression, and like Hasm, well, bless him, like he added all. I think he went directly onto the video itself. He didn't download it. He just went to the video and added his own footnote. He added his own subtitles and everything.
The closed captioning.
Yeah, and then they got lost somehow. Right? It's like, where'd they go?
Yeah, what you have to with the closed caption, it's like you have to put them in, then save, put them in, save, put them in, save. So like that whole process. So the response of people today, because in this particular world with Muslims that are in the cyberspace, Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī was a very deep teacher, and his presentations were very deep. So that's why I asked that, because I'm thinking people today, where there's so many times that we hear complaints about people's attention span, their attention to detail, how much they can digest. So I was curious to know how are people able to take this in cyberspace where it's not exactly bite-sized, even though the video snippets or excerpts you have might be short. It's not bite-sized information. It's profound.
Oh yeah, because that's definitely what he's good at. Because the way he speaks, he's got so much energy. Like when he talks about the Quran, like Allah, he's so excited and he's so like amazed at what Allah is saying, and he's amazed at the way Allah's done things. So like one video that's like really, really popular, people really love it, is where he talks about how Allah is worshipped at every single moment and every single time of the day. So he said, like, think about this. Right now, someone could be praying Asr. Someone else in the world is praying Maghrib. Someone else is praying Fajr. Throughout the world. And then he said, then you break down the prayer. So you can have a bunch of people praying Asr right now, but someone is in ruku, someone is in sujud, someone is in qiyam, someone is in julus. So he said, think about it. And every single moment of the day, Allah is being worshipped in every single one of my prayers, in every single action of one of my prayers, in every single dhikr of my prayers. Allah is being worshipped. SubhanAllah. And people love it. I think someone left a comment recently and said, he's like those fiery Baptist preachers. I love it.
Yeah, because they're like comparing like the energy and the passion.
Yeah. So it's that's one of his gifts, Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, was that just bringing it like to where you realize something really profound. Like, yeah, I never thought about that. Like another one he did where he was talking about Surah Al-Baqarah 186 about عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني. So he said, and
my slaves ask you about me.
Yes,
indeed I'm near.
I'm near, and I answer the call, the call, the one who calls me, the dua, the one who calls him. And so, I think the original Arab, whoever uploaded the video, they called it like Allah knows what's good for you. And I thought that's a good title. And so he explains. He says, okay, think about this. When you make dua, like all the things you make dua for, whether it's for a job or for a house or food or money, whatever it is, the asl of your dua is what? You're asking for khair, right? You're always asking for khair, aren't you? No, you're not asking for something bad to happen to you. You're not asking for like a flash flood or some financial wreck.
To have tribulation sent down upon you.
No, so you're asking for a khair. So he says, but here's the thing: Allah knows what's khair for you. You don't, right? So if you ask for something, Allah doesn't give it to you. Allah gives you something else because Allah is telling you, listen, you're asking for khair. I'm going to give you the khair that I know is actual khair, not the khair that you think is khair. And so never ever say that my dua was never. It was answered because essentially you asked for khair and Allah gave it to you.
Yeah.
So these are really, really profound messages, and because when you get it in that short, like bite-sized form, that really affects people, and that's why I get those nice comments. People say, "I really needed that message," or "That was a really meaningful message." Allah bless the Sheikh. Allah reward him.
Are there any tafsirs or particular ayat that you've translated that you see that, oh wow, like Ayatul Kursi is like hugely popular, but Ma'idah 51 is people like it, but it's not as sought after. Have you found that with any particular ayah or any particular message that, oh yeah, this one is like top?
You mean on my channel? What's
Yeah.
I think the most popular one is it's called How to Attain Any Blessing That You Want. And you talk about Surah Al-Kahf. What's the ayah again? What do you say? Ma sha Allah, la quwwata illa bihi.
Yes.
Right, so he thinks that dua from Surah Al-Kahf. And it says, look, see, the man said that, and then look what Allah gave him. Because he likes stressing that, because there's another, because you can tie that up. That's part of a longer video where he talked about different du'as of Anbiya, and how Allah, how they said a certain du'a, and then Allah did this for them. He says, look, this is what you're supposed to say. This is how Allah will rescue you from gham. This is how Allah will rescue you from hem. This is what Allah will do for you if you're troubled by something. There's all these du'as that we don't think about. They're there in the Quran. Use them. So that also has an effect. And again, that's just his forte. Like he's so entrenched in the Quran. That's what's amazing about him. Like and like no matter how much he talks about it, he's still just absolutely just amazed by it. Like the
It's
ajab.
as, it's as if it's the first time he's encountered it.
Yeah.
Every time he speaks on it.
He's just like amazed by it and amazed by it and amazed by it. He just wants to talk more about it. Talk more about it. So, subhanAllah. Yeah, so yeah, but I would say I got into the idea of doing his translations. I mean, I first did videos by Imam Bolti, but I thought about him as well because that's why I spent time with his tafsir, and his tafsir was just so beneficial. Like he just raised he just brought up so many life lessons. I thought like so certain things there are certain things in his tafsir that yeah just you just reread them, you just remember them. So like one thing I always cling to is like, for example, he talks one time how he said he visited the United States, and someone asked him about the apostasy laws, like the Camel Ridda, and why such and why so and so executed. And his response was, he said, "Well, listen, that the wisdom of that is not so much about people going out, but about people coming in."
Hmm.
And he said, look, it's quality control. Like if you're going to join this, you have to be up to the task. You can't just be some freeloader and it's like yes,
You have to be utterly committed.
yes, like yes, this is the ship of salvation. But once you're on board, it's all hands on deck. It's not just sitting there and whinging and waiting for stuff to come. No, you have to step to the plate. He also used the example of like someone asked him about. He said how he was asked sometime about what about people who've done benefit for humanity? Like why are they not saved? Why do they go to the fire? Why are they not saved? And he said, because who do they do it for? That was a simple. He said, who do they do it for? He said, you can mention so and so invented this medicine or discovered this medicine or made this useful invention and benefited humanity.
What were their motives?
Yeah, what were their motives? He said, these people, Banting and Best and penicillin, whatever it is, they did it for humanity, and humanity rewarded them. Humanity, named the lecture theater after them, or the library, or the street, or the park bench, whatever it is. They got their reward.
Polio vaccine.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah, whatever it was. So, what's the law supposed to give them? It wasn't for Allah. It's all about the intention. So, like these messages coming. It's like yes, and it's just he's so. It's like I never saw like in his tafsir or you don't come across incidents where he's stumped or he doesn't know what's going. He's just so confident, and he's just there with the Quran. He's there with Allah, and that's the beautiful message that he gives out.
I should be there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just this. He's so his sense of this his tawakkul and his love of Allah is just so
enraptured by it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's I think that's all part of just again that's part of the attraction of his videos as well. Like the fact that why people are drawn. Like my friend Hazem, he translated another video. When it was called, I think he translated from the Arabic. The title was like prestigious slavehood. Because people have these issues about the word slave and so
I don't
forth.
like that. I don't like that.
But this idea of like prestigious slavehood. And so Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī just explained, he said, listen, if you wanted to speak to some earthly ruler or a wazir, like a minister or a mayor or a governor, whatever it is, you have to like book an appointment. You have to speak to go through different channels. Then you finally get
summoned at a certain time.
Yeah, you're summoned at a certain time, and then when you get there, there's like a set limit. You've got 10 minutes, you've got 15 minutes. When you actually meet this, MP or whoever he is, he might be distracted by things. He might be thinking, like, okay, hurry up, I gotta go. And he's like, but it's like you can turn to Allah anytime. Allah's there for you anytime. You can talk to him as long as you want to, for whatever it is as you want to, whatever issue it is. Do you see a difference? This is the prestigious, like you're not like in that sense where you're like humiliated, but you're humble. You're not in this wretched, abused state before Allah. Like it's prestigious. You can turn to Allah anytime you want and spend as much time as you want, and He wants to hear from you.
Yeah, there's no barrier.
Yeah,
there's no barrier.
Yeah, that direct relationship Allah and He wants to hear from you. Allah wants you to speak to him. He wants you to spend time with him. These other people, I got a 5 o'clock. Can you hurry up?
Or their courtesans have told them, we've only got this many we've only got this many appointments we can deal with today because then we have to meet with the military advisors and the generals, and
Yeah.
their mind is distracted.
Yeah. Whereas like you're getting Allah's full attention, so to speak. I think that's not limited.
Yeah.
Like that's the
The manaja, the conversation, the intimate conversation,
yeah.
is there all the time.
Yeah, I think there's that dua. I think I had another video by Imam Bolti. I think there's a story of Imam Ali where he heard a man make a dua and he said he called on Allah and he said ya man la yashghalu someone and sam'in, all the one who he's not distracted by from hearing some person by hearing someone else. Yeah. Well, that Talutu Kathir Masail, like, and he's not made, he doesn't make mistakes because of so many du'as. Like Allah doesn't mix up the orders.
Yeah, because and that's significant because the average human being, if you're in a room with a lot of people, you can probably follow 2 to 3, and at most for people who are really acute listeners, like 4 conversations around you.
Mm.
And then after that, it just becomes a cacophony.
Yeah.
Everything just becomes a hate, it just becomes noise.
Mm.
So when you think about like how much an average human being can probably follow 2 conversations
Yeah.
without being annoyed. But when you start hitting like 2, 3, 4, just the noise level starts changing.
But here we're thinking
You
about
can't
like
follow anything
hundreds of millions of du'as all at the same time.
in different, and not only just from the human race, but different creations like animals, fish, inanimate objects, malaika, jinn. Like every single creation has its dua, it has its dhikr, and everything else. So all of that's happening all at once. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is answering and dealing with these things, dispensing His justice. All these affairs are coming to pass.
Yeah, and then I think the last part of that, I'm getting the Arabic now, but it's like Allah, he said that, well, the one who he does not tire of his slaves' persistent du'as of him. Allah doesn't weary, doesn't get fatigued. This ilha that the slaves had. That's who Allah is. That's who your Lord is. Not these human beings. They get fed up with you.
Yeah, they get tired of hearing from you.
You ask for something.
Well, why do you keep coming here? Didn't I tell you it's going to be done in a week?
Yeah.
Get out of here, or it's in security, and you get kicked out, thrown out. And then you're like banned for like so many weeks before you can come back, if you can come back.
Yeah. Whereas with Allah wants to hear from you. Like that's part of like if people don't get that that's part of why it's like tribulations happen to you. Allah's trying to get you back. Like come back and listen to me or talk to me. So that's a really, I think, a strong thing about Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī is just like you're trying. It's just that's what you see, that he's just someone who was just so happy with Allah, just so happy because he understood who his Lord was. He understood why tribulations happen, why bad things happen, the balance of like why you have like why you have trials and tribulations. You also have blessings. Like he understood what was going on, and he was just so happy. But we haven't talked about his life so much. So I think we start out in the Gregorian calendar. He's born in what, 1911? Is it?
1330
in Hijri. Yeah.
Now his name, looking at his name, is Muhammad ibn Sayyid al-Mutawali ash-Shaʿrāwī al-Husayni, because on his father's side they are Falahin, which are the farmers, seasonal farmers. Then on his mother's side, the same thing. His mother's name is Habiba, and her lineage goes all the way back to Imam al-Hussein ibn Ali.
Allah.
So he is from the Ashraf.
Oh wow, Allahu Akbar.
He grows up in Dakhadus, which is a small town in Dakhaliya province, which is it's in the north, but most of the people there have come from the Sa'id. And so he grows up there and begins his early education by completing the Quran at 11 years of age. Now, an interesting thing happens with him. When he first attends the Kutab, because the Kutab is after you've been taught your basic fundamental things by your parents in terms of basic reading, basic writing, recognizing the letter, the beginning, middle, and ending shapes. Now you go to learn to read Quran, how to establish it, the ahkam of it, itqan of it, and everything else. The first time he got corrected, he almost gave up because he thought there was a sentence that he got corrected and he thought, this is too difficult. how am I going to do this? But then his teacher, Sheikh Hamrouche, Ibrahim Hamrouche, he said, no, don't give up. If you had a greater understanding of that which you were reciting, you would take joy in being corrected.
Oh, wow.
Excited to be corrected. So he thought, okay, I've changed my attitude. And so he persisted. And so at 11 years of age, he completes the hifz of the Quran at the Mahad Zaqaziq, which is the Mahad not far from where he lived. Now, he had a really impressive body of teachers in his time. So he had teachers such as we've mentioned, his sheikhs, such as Sheikh Hamruth, but you also had the Mahad he attended, the Mahad Zaqaziq, which is the auxiliary Azhar branch, and he learned from sheikhs such as Sheikh Mustafa Hassawi, Sheikh Ahmed Mekki, who was the sheikh of the Mahad. He also learned in the College of Arabic Language from Sheikh Ibrahim Hamroud, who was the sheikh of the Arabic College, Sheikh Abdul Ghanim Ali Hassan, Sheikh Amin Saroor, Sheikh Muhammad Ghuraba, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Latif Darraz, Sheikh Abdul Muta'al Al-Sa'idi, who's a well-known grammarian. He's a well-known grammarian and poet, and Sheikh Muhyiddin Abdul Hamid Ibrahim. So these people make up the bulk. Now he's going to be learning his basic, his Shafi'i fiqh, his other affairs that he's supposed to know. But it's learning from Sheikh Abdul Muta'al and the Arabic and the fiqh and other things, like it's like a fire gets kindled in him to attain greater education. And that leads to him going into one of the Azhar branches in his area, which eventually inspires him to go all the way to the main Azhar campus in Cairo. And that just begins an odyssey of just education where he goes into that. But his emphasis, his footprint is always firmly on the study of the Quran, everything to do with the Quran. And that just becomes his base. And in learning, his learning style was he didn't always write things down. He would listen to durus, listen and listen again, right? Similar to how people who are blind that haven't read Braille ever just listen and listen and listen until they memorized. And that's his methodology. That's what he did. So he would learn Matun. That's how he learned Quran. That's how he did. Just constant listening, reviewing, listening, reviewing. And that's a lot of ulama through history did not do that. You have people like Abu Abdullah al-Qurtubi who did this. You had Ibn Hazm did this. Ibn al-Jawzi. Some of his hifz, he did it in this fashion. So he was unusual because normally in this time, if you go to a kutab or a mahad, you're going to see people walking either with a loh or with a scrap of paper or with a small metin in their hand. They're like pacing back and forth, or they're sitting down, rocking back and forth, or they've read their portion and the teacher gives them another portion. But his methodology was listening again and reviewing, until he learned it satisfactorily, and it was solid. And he came to be referred to as the Mujaddid and the Imam al-Du'at, the Imam of the Da'is, right? And many people have confirmed this, including the president of Al-Azhar, Ahmed Omar Hashim, referred to him as Imam al-Du'at wa Mujaddid hadha al-Qarn. Allah, that's a huge thing. He's not the only one, but his footprint in which he wasn't known for, and again, this is like Abu Abdullah al-Qurtubi, where he didn't put pen to paper to write it. He taught, and people transcribed. Now, then you have to ask yourself, well, how do you go about dealing with ijazat or learning when you teach in that capacity? Well, a lot of times when you do that, those ijazat will be amma. Now, the people who are going to be the real recoverers of that ilm will be the people that are directly in front of them. But ijaza amma will be recovered by people who are like watching on television, things like that. So they can say that, oh yeah, I learned from Sheikh ash-Shaʿrāwī on television, but it's not the same as the people that have like luzum with him or sahaba with him. So it's one of those things where he was a unique sign of this time. Not the first one to have done it, but in this time, there's so much emphasis put on, say, having paper trails with ijazah or paper trails with thabit and things like this. There's a lot of emphasis put on it, partially because of charlatans and hucksters of all different stripes and varieties. But his footprint was so huge and his shadow was so long, you'd have to be really stupid to lie against him. Really, really stupid to lie against him. His ilm took him in many different places. He wound up in Arabia for a period of time, teaching their tafsir and ulum al-Quran, but he wound up falling foul of government officials because they wanted him to speak exclusively on Tawheed al-Ibadah or Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah or Tawheed al-Ilahiyyah, the three Tawheed Trinity doctrine. And he was disinterested in that, which is another thing about him. He did not like a lot of sophisticated terminology. If you look at his tafsir and how he taught, he did not use a lot of sophisticated terminology. He did not like that. And so his response to them was, if you're saying that I don't know Tawheed al-Ilahi or Uluhi or Ibadah, you don't know Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. You don't know the ayn of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. I'm here in this country and you're referring to an earthly king as Sahibul Jalala. That's shirk in the Rububiyyah. So he ultimately winds up having to leave. And as he's leaving, you have Sayyid Qutb's brother and others that come in during this time. That's the rise of the Qutbiyya movement. So his knowledge that he spreads to a wide body of people, as a huge a net as he can cast, he becomes like this personification of the Quran. Everywhere he's going, like we talk about like a walking Quran. This man was like the walking Quran. Ayat, ahadith, everything. And he would just be sitting on a stoop or a chair, and he would open the mushaf, and he would read through the ayat, or he'd open the portion we're talking about today is this, and then would close it, and he would talk about it. And he would go through the tafsir and just grammar points and other rulings and its application. His tafsir is one of the great modern tafsirs of this time, because he falls within the general guidelines of the four different types of tafsir, but he doesn't strictly adhere to any one of them. And so you're getting a spoonful of everything. If you're looking for the holistic tafsir that he includes that. If you're looking for ahkam, he will include that. But it's not solely any one thing. It is a unique way of doing tafsir, but without being solely
upon one method.
Even the inclusions where they say, oh, it's a combination of that. It's like, you can't really even say that, because sometimes he'll be going through the tafsir and he will start to chip away at a modern phenomenon. Something that's happening in that time. And like inclusionist tafsirs usually don't discuss modern phenomenon. It's not usually what this. He starts discussing contemporaneous issues, which is an unusual aspect. Like Ruh al-Ma'ani does it sometimes. Imam Shanqiti does Adwa al-Bayan sometimes. But like the fact that tafsir can encompass in any era contemporary conditions that the human race faces, while not being heavy on ahkam and things like that might normally be a block to some people. Oh, ahkam is heavy, it's obviously not addressed to me. I can't do this, I'm not a scholar. No, it's wide enough to where the net catches everyone.
What were the four types of tafsir?
So you have the inclusionist tafsir, which includes all different levels. So I'll list that last. The first is the ahkam tafsir. And every madhab has that, right? Ahkam al-Quran. It's ever called ahkam al-Quran, something like that. Qurtubi has one. Al-Qadr Abu Bakr al-Arabi's got one. Then you have that's it. Workload sauce. You have
Al-Sa'id for the Shafi'i.
That's it. You have al-Ulaymi is one for al-Ulaymi's tafsir for the Hanabila. It was like two of the Hanabila. The earliest one for the time is probably Ibn Abi Hatim's tafsir. So that's ahkam. The next one you have is a hadith-based one, which like Ibn Kathir like stands like way out of the pack for that, like constant references to the Musnad, everything else, to understand the Asbab al-Wurud and Asbab al-Nuzul and what triggered certain ayat and also what triggered certain hadith. Then in addition to that, you have Tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran. So giving Tafsir of the Quran with the Quran, like fleshing out the meanings of things. That's like Adwa al-Bayan. That's Al-Jalalain, and then Sawi's Hashia on the Jalalain. Like it's stuff that Malikis have a real penchant for that. And then finally, it's your inclusionist, which includes like all of that. Now, sometimes people will say, well, what about Rai? Well, Rai is usually Quran with Quran because you're doing istikhraj and drawing out like points from that, fundities from it, right? But the inclusionist will include like all those things. So Zadul Masir fi Amative series, an inclusionist one, right? It's an example of an inclusionist one. So you'll get all these, where Shaʿrāwī has not, you could broadly put him under the inclusionist category, but he's not solely dependent on that. You know, he's sort of taken the Tafsir bil-Rai that extra step further, where he's like, okay, well, this is how this applies to our time now, and things like that, mentioning scientific achievements or social ills, right? He's taken that extra step further without being bound by those principles. So he did a lot of like buhuth, tajdeed in that area. You know, he's a mujaddid in general, but probably specifically as well in the field of tafsir, because he did a lot of ihya of different aspects of tafsir and bringing it to light to people in a way that people, if they listened to, say, Imam al-Shanqiti's tafsir, because he did do recordings, they wouldn't be as widely digestible. Not because he's not a great alim, but just the breadth of what he's done. You can tell that he's speaking to people who have a certain level of ahkam knowledge, who understand comparative fiqh, and he'll go on these things where, like his section on the 3 different types of Hajj just spans about 30 pages. It's like, okay, who in the crowd of people that's a regular slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can deal with that? Right, like how you make Hajj once in your life or a few times. So the person in the audience will be thinking, how does this apply to me? Right, so it has to be a wider net. And so Shaʿrāwī cast this really wide net.
So, what was his relationship like then with Al-Azhar University and the other ulama of his age as he was coming up?
Imam Shaʿrāwī's relationship with his teachers, he had a great relationship with his teachers with respect to, but he did mention that the teachers of the Kutab were mutashaddid. And that's, he said, at first I was going to give up. He said, but then they encouraged me. He said, now what I thought was mutashaddid, they're actually mutamakkin. Instead of being harsh, they're actually just exacting in particular. And so he, having that of like, if you can go through the Kutab and be strong and then come out, well, you'll be fine with us. And so his relationship between the Sheikhs of Al-Azhar, he had a very, because during this time, you have to remember the communist era comes in during his time. So the government's overthrown by the free officers in AD 52. The monarchy's destroyed. So he lives to see these events. And then 54, Nasser unseats Muhammad Naguib and takes over formally. So now they're like a vassal to the Soviet Union. So he has to now deal with the issue of Shuyu'iyya or communism and Ishtirakiyya socialism. Like he has to deal with these things. Now, Al-Azhar gets absorbed or swallowed into the communist government. But he's able to avoid not falling into the government trap because he is linked to Muhammad al-Khidr Hussein, who was the first non-Egyptian Sheikh al-Azhar and the first one to actually self-abdicate. So he's alive during this time and seeing all these things and refusing to get close to the government, refusing to get his job is to disseminate ilm, to speak to the people, to be on good terms with the righteous ulama, but to also beware of some of the sheikhs and muftis who might veer off the path because some of the earthly benefits that are present to them. And so he had to veer off away from them. So he has good relations with the ulama of Sham, good relations with Muhammad al-Khudr Hussein, good relations with the Barqawi family. Like, there's no set of scholars where he's like, oh no, I'm in a good relationship with the Shafis and I need no one else.
Mm.
I'm in a good relationship with the Hanafis, but I'm in a good relationship with the Hanbalis, but I'm not. No, he had a good relationship all around.
Yeah. Because one of the things I've come across, right, is I know, for example, like he was close to Sheikh Muhammad al-Khusri, Muhammad al-Khusri. Um, I think we were talking about this yesterday. His daughter said, like after Imam al-Khusri passed away, Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī had a dream about him. Because Imam al-Khusri passed away maybe 16, 17 years before Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī did. And Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī told his daughter, he said, "I had a dream of your father last night, and I saw him, and I was seeing, like, he was high up, and he was reciting the Quran as we saw him in this world. You know, that everyone's seen the videos of Imam al-Khusri, he recited, and he said, and it was just being said to him, "Iqra wa rattaqi," and he was just going up and up and up and up, just reciting, and it was just, I couldn't see him anymore. You know, that's. So he had a very close relationship with other people. So he's one of those. Again, that's what's kind of unique about him. Like he's like he's a very unifying figure, I would say. Like you're hard pressed to find people who
have hostility
towards him, or
very difficult.
Yeah, like other ulama, they can do that. They can cut through people. There's some people who like him, some people who dislike him. We don't have a lot of people just like have a big issue with him or something. So I think that's probably the other appeal of the tafsir and why they wanted it translated, because again, like you were saying, it does throw out a wide net. It does appeal to a large amount of people, large body.
It encompasses like everyone, because the way that he does his tafsir, every person can identify with it. So it's not. So the way that he did it wasn't ahkam based, because if it's ahkam based, then the people who are not Shafi'is would say, well, I don't abide by that. So what am I going to do? You know, Surah Al-Ma'idah is just going to be ahkam for the Shafi'is. What can I do with that? Or if he was Maliki, or if he does, I don't abide by that. So it's just, there's aspects of it where they can't, they might feel switched off or not tuned in. But no, it's wide enough, and he kept it general, but at the same time specific enough to where everyone's needs were met, and everyone could benefit in a massive way.
Yeah, and I think part of the proof of his accessibility, because I'm thinking back now to when I was translating, because I know what it's like to translate different authors and how some are more difficult, some are easier. And I remember with his, because again, I was able to do 25 pages a week alongside a teaching job, like teaching 16 hours a week, including work and stuff like that. I was able to fit in 25 hours a week. And when I had summer holidays, I remember there was one summer where, so I wasn't teaching, I just had free time. And there's one point where I was doing like 10 pages a day. I was able to do just 10 pages a day. Just 10, I'm just sending off every day, 10 pages, 10 pages. And that's like roughly, I think I maybe 2,000 words in English. Like, I wanted to get that done. And that's
huge.
Yeah, that's rare to be. So and I remember I did that for maybe 2 weeks straight. I just sent them like 10 pages, 10 pages. I sent them loads of stuff. And then the summer ended, I had to fly back to Morocco. And I didn't think much of it. So I was like, I sent them on Monday, sent them on Tuesday, sent them on Wednesday. Thursday, my wife and I go to the airport in the plane. Plane lands in Morocco. Check my, the next chance I get to check my emails, like, Brother Matthew, where are you? What happened? It's like, are you okay? He's like, I was traveling. It's like, you were sending us 10 pages a day. Where's today's portion?
Yeah,
it's
they're
like,
getting really happy.
They're like, it's amazing. This guy's doing this guy's sending us like 100 pages, and
this guy's a workhorse.
This guy's sending us like 140 pages in 2 weeks. This is amazing. It's like, I really raised their expectations. It's like, what happened? Are you okay? I was like, no, I was just traveling. I had to go out to Morocco. I'm teaching on Monday. What?
Leave me be.
Like, oh, it's yeah, okay, thank you. But from here on in, I'm going to be cutting it down. I'll be back to you.
I'm dropping down to normal size again.
Yeah, maybe 5 pages a day, something like that.
I don't know.
But that shows how it was not. And again, you think I'm looking back now. That was like early in my translation career.
Yes.
The fact that I found that kind of ease just shows how that's how accessible it was.
It wasn't too technical.
Yeah, it wasn't technical. I only had a few questions here and there. And I have people in hand to help me. Whereas some of the other books I translate, like I have to really think about it. I have to look into the words. I have to check I have to check the Arabic dictionary for the
Sometimes
English.
arcane language as well.
Yeah, I have to literally think about it. So uh, I might struggle to do, you know, 2 or 3 pages a day. With him, it's just like, yeah, just 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Like if I've like total free time, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Uh, to the point that the editors thought that I could just carry on like that forever. Like,
Yeah, that's we're gonna be done like well within inside the limit, like 6 months earlier than what we thought. It's like, no,
yeah,
I can't do that.
I don't know. I was on a break from teaching. I was on holiday. I had free time. I'm like, no, 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 don't put it on me.
Subhanallah.
So yeah, that's yeah. That was also part of the barakah of it. I think it was a really it was a really enjoyable project. And I don't really know what happened at the end of it because I think I finished Circle Jumu'ah. I think this was here Circle Jumu'ah while I was still in Morocco, and then the project took a break. Um, and then around, I think again, this is maybe again in the Gregorian calendar, so what 2014, I think, early 2014, they contacted me again and they said, "Could you do Taghabun?" So the Taghabun, the 64th chapter, and I did half of it. I remember I did about half of it. And then there was a brother who was in touch with. His name was Muhammad Abdul Latif. He's the one who's in charge of it. He would send me emails, and then he's the guy who would send it over to the editors.
Hmm.
And then they email back and say, "This is what they have to say. Check over your work." And then I was halfway through Taghabun, and then he said there's going to be a change of administration. They're going to like I think it was indicating that he was going to be replaced or people were replaced.
I don't know. And that
And
can sometimes be a worrying thing. So they can, oh no, quality going to be sacrificed.
yeah, yeah, they changed over the team, and he said, you might hear from them. They're gonna think about like who they're gonna keep on. But I never heard anything after that. I never heard anything. That was it.
Was the quality sacrificed at all or anything else, or did they stay on track?
I don't know what happened. I see.
They just literally went quiet.
They just went quiet after that. I don't know, like early 2014, just went quiet. I remember what I remember that time. This was like early 2014 because I remember my wife was memorizing at a mahad in Jeddah, and she would go every morning, or she would go like a couple mornings a week. And it was quite far from within that time. So what I would do is I would drop her off like early in the morning, and her class was like maybe 2.5, 3 hours, and then I would go to because to go all the way back home and come back again was too much of a hassle. So I just go to like a local cafe. There's a cafe nearby, not too far away. And I would just sit there and do the translation, and then that's when they said, "Oh well, uh, just," and it was like, and I was like literally, I was like doing something to Rob, and the email comes through, "Please stop."
Subhanallah.
Like, please stop. There's a new team coming in, and we'll get in touch with you. I was like, okay. Um, so I didn't know what to do. I thought, okay, like, are they continue with this? Will I be kept on? Um, I was gonna ask my fiqh teacher because my fiqh teacher, he started studying Al-Azhar a few years later. I said, like, could you maybe like track down Sheikh Ali Jumwa?
Yeah, that's what's going on.
Um, but then so many other things came on. Like I had so many things on my plate to focus on, but I think it kind of took a back seat. I wasn't to worry about it. And then I think I realized that the project was more or less done at that point because again, when I finally found, this was a few years later. I think I was doing my MA thesis. Because I was trying to find, because I wanted to quote Imam Masha'Allah on a few points, and I wanted to find like the PDF of it, of his tafsir, just so I can quote it, or at least find like a printed version of it. I didn't want to just quote ltafsir.net.
Yes.
I didn't want to quote the actual book. Um, and what I discovered was that he doesn't actually go as far as Juz Amma. Like I said, it doesn't cover. It's not actually there.
Subhanallah.
I think it's like I said before. I think it only goes to like Juz 28, Juz 29, and it ends there. So I think, okay, well, so it's the Rab one,
Yeah,
right? That's Juz.
that is just
That's
something Allah. That
that's
is
28.
28.
That's 28 exactly. So because just Tabbarak is 29. So because like the 64th chapter. So I'm thinking there wasn't much left at that point anyway. So if I'm on Tarabun and there's a team of translators, there's probably other people who are already doing
Yeah, they've
the
already
rest. So
finished their portion.
yeah, so it was a weird way to ending, and then it was just this long wait as to what happened to it. Right. So I really enjoyed I really enjoyed translating. I thought it was a really beautiful tafsir. I thought there's gonna be so much benefit for when it comes out. But then I was thinking like, where is it?
Yeah, subhanAllah. Now we want to see it come out so people can benefit, it can
Yeah.
be disseminated.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think about it, right, Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī, he dies on the 12th of Safar, 1419,
Yeah.
which is AD 1998.
Yeah.
Right. From that point until your translation of it, all those years have passed,
Hmm.
and the demand is still just as great.
Yeah.
That's the real important standout thing. Like the demand for a tafsir that deals with social issues and man's contemporary condition, it was just as relevant then as it is.
Mm.
It's just relevant now as it was then.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's probably owing to the genius of Imam Shaddai as well again,
Mm.
because the way that he did the tafsir, it's just applicable for all times, and even 20 years ahead or long after we're gone, that tafsir will still be applicable.
Mm.
But I think it was a logistical issue that led to this delay or whatever happened. So how did it finally shake out after all this?
Yeah. So I think what happened about 18 months ago. I forget how it happened. I think was I just searching on YouTube or something? I think I stumbled across this video. Maybe I'll put a link below. I stumbled across this video on YouTube. It's a 5 minute video, and it's the launch of the translation of the tafsir. And they call it ash-Shaʿrāwī reflections. That's what they translated khawatir.
Hmm.
Khawatir is like thoughts or ideas that cross your mind. Um, so I thought it was weird because this was like still in the COVID era, like people are still like wary about traveling and all these other restrictions and stuff like that. But there's this big event like in Cairo,
Oh,
and there's lots of, and I watched the video of these Azari sheikhs here. There's people coming from the Emirates. You can tell by the way they're dressed, and they're there and they're celebrating. And they have a website. There's an app. It's like for Android. It's for
and you
iPhone.
completely stumbled across this. You didn't get like an email for
No,
it or
no, no,
anything
no, no,
else?
no, no. I just stumbled across it and I was like, wait a second, this is it. This is definitely it. And then, sure enough, you go on the website and the whole thing's there in PDF format. You can download it.
So the entire Quran has been
Yeah,
completed.
the whole thing.
Subhanallah.
And the app itself, like the app itself um has the whole tafsir and then it has like other like functions on it, like a Qibla director and prayer times and these kinds of things.
User friendly.
Yeah,
Okay.
prayer friendly. think I think at one point it stalled. I think they need to update it. I might have taken it off my phone because it stalled at one point.
And how did the tafsir come out? Did it read fluidly,
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
you remember it?
yeah. I remember. Yeah, because I went because I think I checked and I looked at like sort of Am and Yasin, these other sources. Like it's like yeah, that's pretty much what I remember of what I translated. So it's all there. My name isn't on it because they don't put any name of translators on it. But yeah,
Your name's written down with Allah subhanahu
yeah, yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, it's there. But what I was shocked by was like, okay, this is a big announcement, and then that channel, the actual channel called the Shower Reflection, has 9 subscribers.
Why would they not push it?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like they're not pushing. It has that channel to today, 18 months later, it has 9 subscribers. The launch video, has 68 views.
Oh,
A lot of those are mine, if not most of them,
yeah.
because I've gone back like, hey, where's everyone?
Yeah, subhanallah.
So so I've been wanting since that time to do this podcast with you, especially because of your background and your knowledge. Want to discuss this with you, and we haven't had the chance to get around with it. I was like, yeah, we can do a podcast and like sort of launch this and make people more
Aware of
aware of it because this doesn't make any sense. Like you actually have a full tafsir.
Yeah, because this is really like a proper khusran, like a proper loss
Yeah,
that this is in front of you and that people don't take advantage of it.
yeah. Well, not a
Like,
full tafsir. You're going to just maybe a bit more, but it's still like the vast. Like
listen, it's more complete, more diverse, and more relevant than anything else that's out in English.
yeah.
And it's legitimate. It's written by Maraja. It's written by in a style and capacity that appeals and is contemporaneous to man at this epoch in history.
Yeah, yeah. So at least 95% of it's there of what Imam Ash-Shaʿrāwī would have done. So yeah, that's the idea of or one of the motives for this podcast is just to get his word out, let people know who Imam Ash-Shaʿrāwī is, and to get the people that is a tafsir in English. It is there, and you can
It's accessible.
download it, you can read it. It's in PDF format. It's free of charge, and
What more can you ask for?
SubhanAllah, I just don't get why they haven't made that public.
I mean, I think with Al-Azhar, we discussed this before, like Al-Azhar, Al-Qarawiyyin, things like that. There's often a yawning disinterest
Hmm.
or a yawning attitude towards pushing things in English.
Hmm.
We've got the Arabic, that's what we have,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
just satisfied with it.
I've seen similar things like when I don't want to mention any names, people can guess, but when I've had my books published by Arab publishers,
Yeah.
there's no publicity.
Yeah, they're just okay. Here it is. If you want it, you want it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
And it's you understand that their emphasis is the Arabic literature market,
Hmm.
but they also have to understand that
There's an English market.
yeah, there is an English market. I mean, after all, if they've commissioned the translation, if you didn't think there was a market, why did you commission the translation?
Yeah. And are you willing to? Because I've seen my translations at Arab book fairs. I go like the Jeddah book fair. They're my books. I was like, okay, great, but these are all Arabs here.
Yeah. And people, we've often spoken about the condition of some of the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the English speaking world. What we can't hope to lift, alleviate, and obfuscate some of the more serious maladies without some translations.
Yeah.
And getting over the hump regarding tafsir is one of those most important factors, which, okay, this is a solid, orthodox, voluminous, well thought out, time tested tafsir that anyone can access.
Mm.
Get this.
Hmm.
And there it is.
Yeah. So inshallah, that's what we should leave this podcast on. Leave it on that message. That yes, there's the link below. I'll share the links for the app as well. You have it on your phone. You can read it anytime you want.
And inshallah, this will be a sadaqah jariyah for the sheikh. And inshallah, you'll get some of that reward as well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And all the people that helped.
Alhamdulillah. Any final thoughts, Dad?
I would say in closing that what Imam ash-Shaʿrāwī did and what his tafsir continues to do is the best of what someone could accept from Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar isn't what it was in the past, but neither are the other institutions that were in their heyday. But when we find a scholar of fantastic quality from the Qarawiyyin or Mustansiriya or Al-Azhar or the Zaytuna, that scholar or those scholars, they represent the best niyyah of what the people that laid the foundation stone had in mind when they built those institutions. So if you're looking for what's the best himma that the Sunni people that took Al-Azhar from Salah al-Ayyubi's time, rahimahullah wa Allah, had, what's the best of what they could have hoped for? It's people like this Sheikh, people like this Imam.
Alhamdulillah. Well, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.